Philip Turle is France 24's international affairs editor, and he joins me now to talk a bit more about this pullout by September 11th. Philip, what's Joe Biden hoping to achieve in the next 4 months, given that the withdrawal date has now been pushed back?
Well, first of all, Jeannie, there is no doubting the fact that Joe Biden has always wanted to pull troops out of Afghanistan. This is not just something that's come along since he became president of the United States back in January. He was even against the troop surge that his predecessor, Barack Obama, introduced into Afghanistan while he was in office. So in a strange sort of way, the things that Donald Trump had been pushing, i.e. a troop withdrawal from Afghanistan, are being picked up by Joe Biden. The whole problem here is, how does this troop withdrawal come about? What are the best ways of carrying this out as well? I think what Joe Biden is trying to achieve here is to say, OK, we're going to honor the Doha Accord, which was signed between the US and the Taliban in February last year, which one of the points of that accord was the troop withdrawal by May the 1st this year. Joe Biden saying we're going to honor that, but we won't be able to pull them out by May the 1st, but we'll give them a 6-month extension to come out for logistical reasons. We have, with this date of the 11th of September, slightly more information about how this is going to take place. I think the 11th of September is a symbolic date because of what we were just hearing about in that report. And Joe Biden has given that date as the final date, saying that all troops will be withdrawn from Afghanistan by then.
Philip, the big question here for many critics is that if the U.S. troops do pull out of Afghanistan, they are going to leave a void, which could eventually lead to the collapse of the government in Afghanistan and eventually a takeover by the Taliban.
And I think that is the big dilemma facing Joe Biden. Now, there's a new intelligence report which was just released, which you can read about in the New York Post newspaper, which says that there is a chance that no peace deal will be reached within the next year, although there are other chances that the Taliban could make territorial gains once the US troops pull out of the country. The only good news is that the US seems to think that there is no chance for the time being that al-Qaeda will be given a back door back into Afghanistan, where it will start to try to launch attacks against US interests. Now, there is another concern also, is that if US troops pull out, the Taliban will try to increase its hold of Afghanistan, and that the Afghan government itself could fall from power. And that would also be very bad news for the United States. I think what the US really wants to avoid here is having to come back to Afghanistan once the troops have finally pulled out once and for all. And I think, by all accounts, Joe Biden's been torn between his desire to get out of Afghanistan and the threat that the country could become a future staging ground for attacks against US interests. So he's made this decision to pull out. He's the commander-in-chief. That is something he has the right to do. And now it's up to the Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and the Secretary of State Antony Blinken to work with NATO allies. They're currently in Brussels, where they're meeting with those allies and with the European Union to discuss several hot topics in US foreign policy. Of course, one of those is Afghanistan. And they hope that this troop withdrawal will go ahead smoothly.
Philip, thank you for that. France 24's Philip Turle.